Hello everyone, welcome back to Crimson Gray. Let's go ahead and continue. And I think we're at a fancy restaurant with Lizzie, so this is gonna be interesting. Wow, John, this place is so nice. As nice a place as they'll let high school kids in with only a few days of reservation, anyway. When I asked for a romantic place, I never dreamed it would be this romantic. I'm not dressed up enough for this. This is the kind of place it takes someone to propose. Okay, Lizzie, let's not get too ahead of ourselves now. Just so it's clear, I'm not going to propose. I know that's silly. I'm just really happy it's so romantic. John could only hope that the place would be nice. All he knew about it was that his parents said it was nice back when they were together. They entered and Lizzie was delighted by everything. The decor, the menu, the lighting, the food. Or maybe she was just really delighted with one thing, the event itself. Fortunately, the staff seemed to find her adorable instead of disturbing, so John found himself relaxing. Even when they were just chatting idly, Lizzie was nice to be around. Midway through the meal, he realized that Lizzie was resting her hand on the table. She wasn't necessarily inviting it, but if he stretched, he thought he could put his hand on top of hers. I'm sure this will make Lizzie happy. Lizzie's eyes went wide for when he touched her, for a moment just staring as if she couldn't believe it. But no, she's doing the creepy eyes, I think. But after a moment, she gave him a brilliant smile and laced her fingers through his. Okay, he hadn't meant to do that, but John decided he could just awkwardly hold her hand while they ate. That certainly seemed to be Lizzie's intention. She actually wasn't getting a lot eaten, since she didn't talk with her mouth full and listened rapidly whenever he talked. But at least she seemed to be having fun. After a while, Lizzie patted at her mouth with a napkin and sighed in satisfaction. She didn't let go of his hand though. That was wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. Yeah, it's all really good. Not the food, the date. Oh, but I made you talk so much. You haven't gotten to eat very much. That's okay, No, I'll be quiet and watch you while you eat. So, Lizzie, how about you tell me where you live? Oh, it isn't too special. Just a house. All by yourself? A house? Well, I guess this is the 90s, so who knows? Do you live with someone? I know not with your parents, but some other relative? No, it's just me. Abby inherited the house, I think, and she didn't manage to sell it off when things got bad. Abby? My mother. She was an awful woman. I don't want to talk about her. It's a nice enough house, I suppose. Abby wrecked a lot of it, but I've been able to repair it with money from James. Your father? I guess, but he never cared enough to meet me. Abby always complained about him, and the checks don't always come. But I don't want to talk about that. It's all horrible, isn't it? People who can't even pretend to be in love just tear into each other. That's not what I want, not at all. When I fell in love with you, I knew it would last forever. Wouldn't it be nice for us to get a house together? Maybe even build one? So many choices, I can't decide. But I want to be something we choose together, not something we inherit. Some place where we want to live together forever. Maybe a big house, big enough that it can have lots of nice windows, also rooms inside where no one can see us, and maybe a fountain. Lizzie giggled and squirmed in her seat as she couldn't contain herself. Her fingers in his grip so tightly that it almost hurt. But now I'm just saying, now I'm just saying things. None of those really matter. The only thing in our house that I'll care about is you. It was the longest he had yet gotten her to talk about herself and her goals. And while I was still pretty focused on him, he didn't mind hearing the details. It's a very nice image, Lizzie. Aw, I'm glad you think so. And you finished the food. This has been wonderful. But can we go now? Can we? Only slightly worrying about what she was thinking, John paid the bill, trying not to wince, and then they left the restaurant. They got onto the bus and Lizzie never let go of his hand the entire time. He began to wonder when she was actually going to let go. And that was when she leaned her head against his shoulder. This feels so nice. Yes, it does. Really? You enjoyed tonight? I did. It's not often that I hear you talk about things you want, other than me. It felt ridiculous to say that, like some kind of boast. And a second later you realized that it might just be exacerbating your problem, or at least making light of it. But Lizzie just considered his words thoughtfully, and gave a slow nod. I've always wanted to know everything about you, John. I'm glad you want to know about me. John, would you like me less if I stopped taking the medicine? Excuse me? Shit. What was I supposed to say to that? John desperately racked his brain for a good answer. Oh, you're gonna make me choose. I like you, Lizzie. I like the person you really are. Is the person you are now the person you really are? What do you mean? I mean, when I get depressed, I don't feel like myself. Medicine might change me, but it's just to change me back to myself. It's not who you are naturally. Does that matter? I mean, we get to choose who we are. Otherwise, we're not really people, just animals. So, who are you, Lizzie? You seem like a nice person now that I've gotten to know you. Is this not who you want to be? Did you feel better before taking the medicine? But you liked me tonight. Tonight was wonderful, but I'm not suggesting I didn't like you before. Silly, John. Don't worry about it. I love you no matter what. Now, would you like to see my house? John froze, not sure how to take the question. Then again, Lizzie had already seen his house. Maybe she just wanted to open up. He said he'd like to hear her talk about herself. After all, if she was actually offering to let him into her life a little more, it would be stupid of him to turn it down. Sure, Lizzie, I'd love to see it. Oh, I'm sure you will. Absolutely sure. He'd planned to take her to her stop, just to be gentlemanly. Now John found himself getting off at the same place. Lizzie eagerly set off from the bus stop, looking back to make sure that he was following. In the end, she led him to a small house. It was a cozy little thing, much warmer and more pleasant than he'd expected. Here it is. Oh, it's cozy.
You don't need to flatter my house, silly. All that matters is that we'll be there.
She led him inside and showed him around. Though it was a very strange and erratic tour, he wondered if this was the first time she'd ever showed someone inside her home. The inside of the house was less cozy than the outside, not because of the house itself, but because of how bare it was. A few rooms looked as though they'd been used, but the rest looked like they were out of catalog. It mimicked the house, but it didn't look like a place where anyone lived. The only thing that didn't match the catalog image was a heavy metal door off a side hallway. Lizzie didn't make the slightest reference to it or even seem to know it existed. A heavy metal door. That's not normal. Is this picture... Is it your mother?
Oh, that. I forgot I even had that.
Lizzie didn't seem to care, but John was curious enough to pick up the frame and look closer. He was surprised to find his hand immediately coated in dust. That had to be years of dust. How could Lizzie have lived there for so long and never even disturbed the picture sitting on the table like this? In any case, you could see where Lizzie got her good looks from, but other than that, she and her mother didn't look very much alike. There was something in Lizzie's eyes and posture that was just lacking in her mother. She was on the beach with some man. Neither of them looked like they were enjoying themselves. Maybe he was imagining things, but you could practically see the growing enmity between them. Absurdly, his mood began to decline. It was just a random relationship from people he didn't know. It had nothing to do with him, yet the idea of people producing a child from a relationship they obviously cared so little about sent him into a spiral.
John, you shouldn't be sad. Our house wouldn't have anything like this in it.
Huh? No, I was just... Oh.
Don't worry. I want to be around here every second of every day of forever. But I know that won't work when we grow up. I can get a job. I'm good at lots of things. It will be sad being apart, but we can call each other at work and send each other things. And when we get home and see each other again for after so long, it'll feel so good.
Her picture of the future actually sounded nice. Lifted a little of the cloud in his head, but he couldn't find a way to put that into words, and so he said nothing. Undeterred, Lizzie encouraged him into the living room and pushed him down onto a large couch. It hadn't seen much use, but it was free from dust and gloriously soft.
You stay here, okay? Give me a moment to change out of this.
John swallowed and stared at where he was. He didn't have a lot of experience, but he'd heard his friends talk about their exploits. He thought a lot of it was lies, but there's something to what they said. If Lizzie really came out wearing lingerie or something else crazy, he didn't know what he would do. He honestly didn't. Part of him that had been asleep for a long time liked the idea, fantasized about what might happen. Another part of him was incredibly nervous to even consider the idea of being closer to her. And he couldn't keep sitting there. His nerves would destroy him. Instead, John got up and began to look around the house more carefully. The dustiest parts of the house seemed to have remnants of Lizzie's mother. At least he didn't think Lizzie would be into cheap little glass figurines. Opening one of the rooms, he discovered that it was an unused bedroom. He was about to go in when he spotted another picture frame sitting beside the bed. This one featured Lizzie as a child, sitting on her mother's lap. It struck him so strongly that he immediately went to look at it more carefully, not caring that his hand got even dustier. Lizzie's mother was glowing and obviously proud of her daughter. while Lizzie ignored her entirely. No, not just ignored her. There's a flat emptiness to her eyes, as if they weren't even related. It didn't seem to stop her mother in the picture, but the distance between them was agonizing. Why would anyone keep a picture like that, much less frame it? John stared at it a while longer, and set it down and left the room. The look Lizzie had been giving her mother, those eyes shouldn't have belonged to a human child. John didn't want to think about it a second longer, so he rushed out of the room as fast as he could. Desperate for something to take his mind out the unpleasant thought, John looked around for anything else. The door next to the bedroom was jammed, but he wrenched it open and stared. The room was filled with pictures of him, his yearbook photos, but also lots of pictures of him in class, pictures she must have taken herself. Yearbook pictures. So she's done this for a long time, huh? Oh fuck, there are pictures of him sleeping in his own bed. For a moment, he just stood there, trembling. Then John snapped back to his senses. He immediately stepped back and closed the door, trying not to make a sound. He told himself he shouldn't be so surprised. He knew she was obsessed, but it still shook him. He was inside a stalker's house. John? Yes. I just wandered off. I'm coming back. Good. There's something I want to show you. John. Lizzie? Oh shit. What are you doing with that axe? You don't trust me, John. That makes me so sad. You think I'm going to trust you when you're coming at me with an axe? I try to be patient. I can't wait any longer. So I need to take matters into my own hands. Hold still, John. Listen. Lizzie, what you gonna do? I'll stand firm. What are you gonna do, okay? You're not gonna kill me. I know you're not, right? John did his best to stay in place, afraid that running would just make her chase him. But as she got closer, she skipped the axe along the walls and gave him a smile that was anything but sweet. What? This won't hurt very much, and then things will be better. Trust me. I'm Tris. Trust her, let's trust her. Swallowing, John stayed where he was. Lizzie got even closer, her smile widening, and then her other hand came up. Instead of a weapon, it held a dark rag. It was over his mouth and nose before he could react. Stunned, John Lee struggled instinctually, then the chemical fumes overwhelmed him. John woke to the feeling of something tight on his wrists. At first he thought he must be entangled in the sheets, but when he tried to move his hands, they were stuck. The memories returned in a bitterly cold flood. Lizzie had actually knocked him out by force and brought him, wherever this was. His blurry vision slowly returned. He could make out a rough basement around him. He could see a heavy metal door at the top of a set of stairs. Oh, it's your torture dungeon. It looked as there were shelves and tools around the walls. but he can't pay attention to those. Not with Lizzie standing in front of him, eyes fixed on his face.
I'm glad you're awake now. Are you feeling okay?
Okay? You've...
I didn't want it to have to be this way, John. But I don't have a choice. You're confused, John. You don't understand how much this matters. I'll help you understand.
What are you going to do to me?
Don't be afraid, John. Everything is going to be alright. I'm completely empty. There's nothing inside me. There's never been anything inside me. The emptiness craves something. I didn't understand what I needed for years and years. Eventually I realized that I needed a person. A specific person. But I didn't know who. Occasionally there would be a flicker of feeling. I'd watch someone for a while, but they were never what I needed. Nothing actually mattered. Until I met you.
But why did...
Let me finish. For so long I could barely even bear to look at you. The feelings were too intense, and then I couldn't bring myself to talk to you. I was afraid it would all just disappear. But the feelings didn't go away. They got stronger. You were made for me, John. You need to understand that. But you don't understand. Because you're confused. That's why I need to keep you here.
You think this is going to help?
It may be difficult at first, John, but you'll come to understand. I promise you will. After all, I had days and days with you all to myself.
Days and days. John recalled that they were going to a full week of vacation. That meant she could keep him here for a full 9 days before they had to return to school. Oh. That was no accident. She coldly planned the entire thing. Maybe she'd been manipulating him since before she even asked for a date. Part of him was terrified. Part of him was furious with her, and another part, his depression saw a twisted mirror of his own feelings. But the worst he had ever done was say unkind things, not this. So what did she plan to do with him, anyway? As he looked around the basement, he saw a lot of heavy tools. Some of the hammers and knives looked as if they'd been used. What? John slumped against the ropes binding him to the chair and just wept. He wasn't sure how long the release of emotion continued, but when it was over, John felt as though his mind has been purged. His current situation might be pretty bad, but he still had options. He could figure out something, assuming he figured out what he even wanted to do. A sane thing to do would be to find a way to escape, contact the police, or maybe it would be safer to convince Lizzie to calm down, take more medication, and not hurt him. John! You're going to have ever so much time together. Aren't you excited? He needed to say something, turn the situation around. But it was just so hard to focus. Before I got to know you, I thought this would be the easy part. I thought I understood how people worked. Some things never made sense to me, but others are so simple. Lizzie walked up to one of the walls and began running her fingers over the tools there. She picked up a knife and crushed the edge, partially turned away from him.
I thought that once I found you, I could make you mine, and then I would feel whole. But you see, I underestimated just how much it would change me. I'm so much happier, and everything is so much more complicated.
She walked toward him, wearing a soft, loving expression but still holding the knife. John froze and held his breath as she walked behind him.
I want all of you, John, even the parts I didn't know existed before. If I hurt you, I would never really have what I want.
The knife slipped past his face, but only as Lizzie moved to embrace him. She wrapped her arms around his neck and pressed herself against his back, inhaling deeply.
I love you so much. I wouldn't be satisfied with just a shell of you.
Without warning, she pulled back. The adoration in her expression was gone, replaced with an empty gaze, fixated on him.
And that makes this so much harder.
What are you gonna do to me?
I don't know. I wish I knew. I took time to think, but it didn't help.
I don't think she will let us through with begging for release. Reason with her. I don't think we can reason with this, so let's just charm her. Lizzie, weren't we having a good time earlier? Getting closer together?
Yes, it was wonderful.
We can go on another date. Just let me out. We can keep going the way we were before.
But I need more than that. I need to help you.
He didn't want to push too hard, but he thought he got through to her a little. If he kept appealing to her romantic side, maybe he could get out of this. Lizzie paced around the room for a while, muttering under her breath, then suddenly straightened. Throwing aside the knife, it embedded itself in the wall. She went to a closet and after a few seconds of searching, emerged with the chain. A chain?
Yes, this will be better. I'm sorry, John. I should have thought of this earlier.
She clamped one end around his ankle, then lifted the table at one end of the room and latched the other side of the chain there. Plucking the knife back out of the wall, Lizzie cut through John's bonds at troubling speed, smiling all the while.
See, you don't have to be tied up. Here, use this table. I'll bring you whatever you need.
Okay, Lizzie, what if I need to shit? What if I need to piss? You're not gonna let me do this in this basement, are you? Lizzie swept all the objects from the table like there was so much trash, then frowned down at the empty space.
But you didn't bring your books, because of the date. Is there anything you want me to bring for you?
You're gonna break into my house? He stared at her, still not entirely sure how to deal with this change. Licking his lips, John spoke before he could fully think through his words. Can I have some water?
Ah, of course. Yes, water. And you slept a long time. You'll probably be hungry soon. Just wait here.
While she was gone, he did his best just to rub some feeling back in his wrist and look around the room. The chain attaching him to the table leg was fairly long. He thought he could reach most of the basement except the far end of the door at the top of the stairs. Not that he could try anything. when she was nearby and could return at any moment. He did try to lift the table, though, so he could slip the chain out from under the leg, and couldn't even budge it. What the hell? Is there some trick to it, or was she just that strong? John had thought it might have been his imagination, or she was just fueled by passion. But to move the table as easily as she had, that shouldn't have been possible. There wasn't time for anything else before Lizzie returned, bearing kitchen supplies.
Just a moment. I'll make you something, and we can be together while I make it. Isn't that wonderful?
Not waiting for an answer, she laid out her ingredients on one side of the table, then set up a chopping board. She began reducing vegetables to little chunks with terrifying ease. Knife a silver blur in her hands.
I know just what I want to cook today, but you can ask for whatever you want later, okay? I'll make you anything you like.
Thank you.
This is all I want, John. A peaceful life at home. You can stay inside. Ignore everyone who wants to hurt you. I'll keep you safe, bring you whatever you need, take good care of you.
And never go outside.
Of course you could go outside, if you wanted to. But right now, I'm just afraid.
Her movements became more erratic, and John saw several chips of wood fly away from the cutting board. Lizzie was still smiling sweetly.
Don't you want that too? To be able just to stay inside on bad days and ignore the world?
It did sound good to him, but when he shifted his legs he heard the chain clinking along the floor, and whatever he had been meaning to say evaporated out of his mind. As absurd as it was, the day continued almost normally. Lizzie made an elaborate meal and they ended up chatting over it, as everything was normal. It felt wrong to do so, but he worried that doing anything else would just antagonize her. Did she really think this would work in the end? Honestly, he had no idea. And did she really need to do such cutting for every single dish? When they had finished and chatted for a while, Lizzie abruptly hopped back to her feet.
Okay, just a moment, John. I'm going to go get your books, okay? I don't want you to be angry with me for making you fall behind on your homework. Is there anything else you want me to get from your house? Well, just let me know if you need anything, alright?
How about some spare clothes if I'm gonna be stuck here for a week? She skipped away and he heard the door above him close. He wondered if it could be a trick somehow, but after enough silence passed, he felt reasonably certain that she had actually gone to his house. I hope my house is far away. Though she could have taken his key, he saw it still resting on the far table with the other things he had been carrying. Had she made a copy at some point, or could she just pick the lock? Neither possibility was exactly comforting, but he didn't have time for that. John got to his feet, stretched, and considered his options. Let's see, try the chain, look for weapons, look for tools, make something for this, you don't try anything. I don't think we'd be very successful in fighting her, because she seems eerily strong. Especially with the table and the cutting board. I'll just make something for Lizzie. Deciding his best bet was to try to encourage Lizzie's good nature, John set to working with the kitchen supplies she left nearby him. His options without a stove were limited, but he did his best to make her something that looked like real effort had been put into it. He's no chef, but he thought she would like anything he'd make with his own hands. Strangely, the act of making something for her helped him forget about the fact that he was changed in their basement. The situation might be messed up, but perhaps there was of course something salvageable. When Lizzie saw his gift, she blushed, then took it away hurriedly. John blinked but didn't have time to object. The next time he saw her, though, she was beaming. Though John spent all of Saturday in tense, Lizzie showed no signs of intending to hurt him. The night she brought a mattress and bedding down to the basement and set it up across close enough that he could lie down on it. When he woke up on Sunday, he felt strangely normal, still tense. The situation was far from ordinary, but in a strange way he had learned to deal with it. That day passed almost normally, since Lizzie had brought him his books. He tried to work through his homework, just like he often did on a Sunday. Lizzie stayed with him most of the day, working as well. She made meals for them both in the basement and upstairs, but she always stayed close. He hoped for a chance to evaluate his options more, but never spotted one since she was always leaning in to smile at him from the stairwell. The only useful thing he learned was that the basement doors apparently unlocked except at night. If he could somehow get unchained from the table, he had a shot at getting out. When Monday dawned, he crashed almost immediately and didn't even get out of bed. That was common for vacations when he didn't have friends to distract him, since all he could do was wallow in himself. It felt worse than usual. His world wasn't just gray. His depression was filled with flecks of anger and confusion. Only then did he realize that he didn't take any medication since Friday morning. When Lizzie entered that morning, she immediately saw how badly he was doing and rushed to the mattress, at first fussing with the sheets before realizing the problem went deeper than that.
John, what's wrong?
Other than you keeping me here?
No, I'm sorry. No. If I let you go, you'll just hate me. It will ruin everything.
Then at least bring me my Pt.3. It's in the shelf above the sink, to the...
No. No. I won't bring it to you. I can't. I destroyed it.
What? But I need that. You understand how serious my condition is, right?
I know. I really do. But you shouldn't take their drugs. Not theirs.
But...
You were taking something before Pt.3, right? Tell me what it was. I'll go get some for you. I want you to get better, John. But I won't let you take anything from Pt.3.
She's got a vendetta against Pt.3. Oh, let's not lie to her. I think I want to cooperate as much as I can. Questol medication. Thinking back, John tried to remember the medications that seemed to do some good. Maybe they weren't as good as Pt.3, but they would be better than nothing.
Okay, just wait right here.
Apparently just remembering all the chemical names he listed, Lizzie hopped up the stairs and practically slammed the door in her hurry on the way out. Abruptly alone, John realized that he had another chance to act. Let's see. Let's look for tools. His table had been placed to be out of reach of the weapons lining one wall, but that did put him close to the other wall. John managed to get around the table to it and began examining them. There was a metal cupboard that appeared to be locked, but he looked through the rest. There was a toolbox that he thought was locked at first, but eventually he realized it was only stuck. After enough effort, he got it open and looked through. Most of it was random aging tools, but he found a screwdriver that looked to be in good shape. Could he use this to escape? He saw several possibilities. At that moment, he heard Lizzie return. It was too late. Eventually, Lizzie returned, bearing a large white sack. She triumphantly emptied it out on the table, dumping an entire pile of pills in front of him. She'd gotten every drug he'd mentioned, even the prescription ones. He hated to think about the nasty consequences if she tried to give him all these at once. But instead, Lizzie just brought him a glass of water and set it down beside the pile.
Take anything you need to get better, okay? I'll just leave these here, but you can ask for more water whenever you want.
Thank you.
Of course, John. I'm doing all this because I want you to get better.
He felt like telling her that being held against his will wouldn't help, but her expression looked so sincere that he couldn't bring himself to say it. How had she gotten prescription medications anyway? He found the one that he had been most satisfied with just before Mrs. Smith switched him to Baxtine and took his first dose. Lizzie smiled brightly, then skipped back up the stairs. After lunch on Tuesday, Lizzie started carrying electronics downstairs. He blinked in confusion until she brought down the TV and started hooking everything together. Whoa, a TV? Those were like CRT TVs, those are heavy! Well, I wonder how big this TV is. Or at least attempting to. After a moment, she sighed and looked at him sheepishly.
Do you know how this works?
I can try to get it figured out. He got up and did his best to help. She had a pretty nice VCR, leading him to wonder why she had it and didn't know how to put it together. It wasn't like someone else would have bought it for her. Do you not use this much?
Never. I don't really watch television.
Like at all?
No.
She had seemed really apathetic about a lot of things, and they thought she just wasn't into pop culture. And now, something in her voice made him suspect it was something else entirely. What about music then?
I don't listen to music.
Huh. Really? Well, what about books?
Only non-fiction that seems useful. The rest all feels so pointless.
What do you do for fun then? She's gonna say, I'm the entertainment, I'm the fun. Watch. She stared back at him so long, he was afraid she might just ignore the question. Well, sorry I asked.
I do enjoy a few things now, thanks to you. I spent a lot of time collecting all those knives because I thought they would be useful. But now, it's a little different. Now I can imagine myself protecting you. All the details about grips, edges, they're not just details now. They interest me.
So you've given her an interest in knives. Fantastic. Anyway,
I thought maybe I could enjoy the movie if I watched it with you. Is that okay?
We might as well try. I've had it all put together for a while anyway. We can try. Lizzie brought a chair and sat beside him as they watched the tape. He was grateful that she at least watched the movie instead of him. It was nothing at all like how watching a film with a girl was supposed to be, according to his friends. Lizzie didn't seem remotely nervous during the scary parts, and too surprised didn't seem to care about the romantic parts. I'm surprised she didn't pick out Misery by Stephen King. Was it Stephen King? Oh well. Then again, he didn't think he really would want her to react that way. It would definitely wouldn't feel like who she was. To his surprise, John found himself enjoying it too. Maybe his old meds are doing their job better than he thought. When it finally ended, Lizzie gave a small smile that he thought represented authentic satisfaction. Then she immediately turned to him.
We should watch something together again. I think I'd rather make your own movie.
Huh? His mind immediately flashed to making porn together, and had to force the thought away. Oh. What kind of movie?
I would like to just film you. Here, working or eating or anything. I could watch it later.
Really? Would that be boring?
No, watching you can never be boring. Oh, this is such a good idea. I'll go buy one of those video recorders and...
Not to cut you off, but wouldn't that be incriminating evidence?
Huh?
Fuck, what was he saying? Well, too late to go back now. I mean, it's not legal to hold someone like this. And your basement looks kinda suspicious. You wouldn't want someone to find later.
You care.
Lizzie embraced him cheerfully, and despite himself, John felt a flicker of joy. When she was happy, she seemed so purely happy.
You're right, of course. I'm so glad you're thinking of keeping me safe, even if I want it to be the other way around. John is so kind. But maybe later we can make our own movies, okay? Okay.
Yeah, maybe. Why the hell had he just done that? Having a tape of her behavior would have been the perfect way to get the police to take him seriously if he managed to escape. But as soon as he had that thought, John regretted it. He didn't want to see Lizzie hurt and hated the idea of her going to prison, despite what she was going to do to him. I feel like with Lizzie, I feel like she'd escape prison just kill us, so nah. Despite the situation, he still thought of her as a sweet girl who wasn't entirely well. She deserved help, not punishment. Was this Stockholm Syndrome? Was she wearing him down just like she'd planned to? The idea disturbed him. It didn't change how he felt. He needed to find another way. On Wednesday, Lizzie wanted to watch another movie, but John suggested that might be too many. Instead, they passed the day quietly, working and chatting and ignoring the fact that he was chained to the table. He was feeling better than he thought he could without Paxton. His mind shifted to what he could do to improve his situation. Chatting with Lizzie was pleasant, but it wouldn't resolve the problem. But what should he say? Try to leverage the last few friendly days into her letting go? Just try to make her relax more? Or convince her that he wouldn't leave her? So Lizzie. Oh yes, let's jump straight to morality. No. Romance? I don't think she cares about her peers. She has no interest but me. Romance and morality. Morality, I'm curious to know what her morality is. Let's see what morality is. Or romance? Morality? Let's go with morality. Hey, do you mind if I ask a random hypothetical question?
Ask anything you want.
Say a train is running down a track, and it will kill 5 people. Pull a lever to switch the train to another track, where it will hit only 1 person. Do you pull it?
Who are the people on the tracks?
Huh? That's not supposed to matter. It's just hypothetical. Random people. No one you know.
I don't pull the lever. I would leave.
Okay, damn. He had a feeling he knew what she was going to say, but... Say, I'm on the first track, and the train is heading toward me. If the lever would make the train hit 5 other people instead, would you pull it?
Yes.
What if there were 10 people?
The number doesn't matter to me, John. I'd kill 100 people. 1,000. And then I'll go and find the person who put you on the track and kill her. And the train conductor. And everyone on the train who didn't help.
Oh my god, Lizzie. Easy. It's just a hypothetical question. Calm down.
If my only choice was to switch the train to come hit me, I would do it. I would do anything.
Oh. Great. She's that person to be like, if this person died, I would kill everyone in this room and then myself. I see, I don't want you to kill yourself for me.
Ah, you're so sweet. But now you have to survive. I want us both to be together forever. But if I can give you my life to save yours, it would be worth it.
How would you answer that question if a teacher asked it?
One already did last year. I pretended to be flustered until I couldn't pull the switch.
So you do understand how most people view this.
I'm aware of how they think. But I don't understand it. What they think doesn't really matter to me.
And if I say the wrong things, people will interfere with my life. So I've had to learn to say the right things. Oh dear God.
I did that with you too, John. At first. Because I was afraid you wouldn't let the real me. But you will. Eventually. I'm sure of it.
That made things a little uncomfortable for the rest of the day, but John hoped that if he ever did somehow get strapped to train tracks, Lizzie was the one nearby.
Yeah.
The next morning he took his pills with a glass of water. As usual, Lizzie waited until it was done and then gave him a warm smile. You're a little dressed up today.
I hope it's helping. You seem happier, John.
I feel better than I expected. Pretty good, actually. It was actually strange how good he felt, and it was easier not to think about that at the moment. Instead, he brought up an issue that he'd been thinking about for a while. That reminds me, I've been meaning to ask you. You've run out of nilazine, right?
I haven't taken it for days. I destroyed the rest of the day before I date.
You destroyed it? Why?
It was useful. It helped me understand, but I wasn't myself while I was taking it.
I wish you'd reconsider taking medication. We can't handle everything ourselves. Sometimes we need help.
You don't understand. It's not that simple.
Then explain it to me.
I wasn't myself. It was like
someone had imprisoned me and took my place.
Imagine if your own medication meant that you could never feel sad again. Just constant manic happiness.
That does sound horrible. I'm sorry I made you take it.
Don't say that. It was useful. Having things be different for a while made it easier to see how everything fits together. But I couldn't take any longer than that. I wanted to be myself again. Pt.3 doesn't want to help people, John. They just want to control them.
Or are you just saying that metaphorically, or do you actually know something about them?
No.
No?
Abby was an addict because of them. I never cared about her, but I saw what Pt.3's drugs did to her. They didn't change who she was. She was always horrible. The drugs just made her identity obvious. Not like you, John. You're still so kind even though you're taking that drug. But they won't be satisfied with that.
Are you seriously saying Pt.3 is some kind of conspiracy?
Conspiracy? No, I don't think so. They just want money, and they're willing to cut corners to make it. I don't care what they do to anyone else, but you need to stop taking that drug. You need to see clearly.
He almost wanted to believe her. Pt.3 was a huge company, and those weren't exactly known for their ethics. It was plausible that they had been testing some dangerous drug on Lizzie's mother. It had probably been too dangerous for adults, but had magnified impact on a developing child. Did Lizzie see that on some level? Or was she just paranoid about the company? Sometimes she seemed so.
And you should stop seeing Mrs. Smith. She's trying to steal you away, I'm sure of it.
Lizzie, don't be ridiculous. She's 10 years older than me, and school counselor.
I can't trust her. You can't. You shouldn't.
Calm down. No one is going to steal me away. She stared at him as if she desperately wanted to believe his words. A moment later, she gave an odd little half shrug.
I came in to say I need to run some errands today, so I'll have to leave you alone. Okay, John?
Yeah, sure.
She left the room and John knew he had a rare opportunity, but he found himself sitting and thinking.
And I run out of time, but if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like on what you think so far. Do you still like Lizzie? Do you hate Lizzie? Do you think Lizzie's a bitch? Whatever. And if you want to watch more of this visual novel, check the playlist down below. If you want to watch other visual novels, check my channel down below. Thank you, and take care.